In this video, I want to present a brief overview of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's thoughts on inequality. And to do this, we'll dive into his work Discourse on the Origin and Foundations of Inequality Among Men, or the Second Discourse, as it is more commonly referred to. Rousseau offers a powerful narrative of how society has developed and how this is connected to the inequality that surrounds us. He begins by distinguishing between two forms of inequality: natural and moral inequality. I quote to you Rousseau.
I conceive two species of inequality among men, one which I call natural or physical inequality, because it is established by nature and consists in the difference of age, health, bodily strength, and the qualities of the mind or of the soul. The other, which may be termed moral or political inequality, because it depends on a kind of convention and is established, or at least authorized, by the common consent of mankind. This species of inequality consists in the different privileges which some men enjoy, to the prejudice of others, such as that of being richer, more honored, more powerful, and even that of exacting obedience from them.
Natural inequality is just the basic differences between us. Some are stronger, some are quicker, you get the picture, the physical aspect. But moral or political inequality, that's the social stuff, the hierarchy, the power imbalances. That, he argues, is where things get problematic. It is artificial, a human construct that our institutions just make worse. Now, to really grasp this, Rousseau takes us back to the hypothetical state of nature. He paints a picture of humans before society. These aren't Hobbes' brutish warring individuals though. Rousseau's early humans are solitary, fairly independent, and driven by simple needs. He refers to this state as that of savage man, but it's important to understand what he means by this term.
Let us conclude that savage man, wandering about in the forests, without industry, without speech, without any fixed residence, an equal stranger to war and every social tie, without any need of his fellows, as well as without any desire of hurting them, and perhaps even without ever distinguishing them, individually, one from the other, subject to few passions, and finding in himself all he wants. Let us, I say, conclude that savage man had no knowledge or feelings but such as were proper to that situation, that he felt only his real necessities, took notice of nothing but what it was his interest to see, and that his understanding made as little progress as his vanity.
This is Rousseau's noble savage. Man uncorrupted by societal constructs. It's important to understand that this is more of an archetype, I'd say. A way to illustrate the innocence and lack of corruption he believes existed before societal structures took hold. The concept isn't necessarily a historical description, but rather a philosophical tool, if you will. Now, there's of course scholarly debate on this, but I'll leave that aside for now. In this noble savage state, humans are driven by Amour de Soi, a healthy form of self-preservation. A love of self that doesn't involve putting others down or comparing oneself to them. They also possess a natural sense of pity, a natural aversion to seeing others suffer. They're not inherently good or evil, but simply living according to the basic needs and instincts. However, then, according to Rousseau, came a pivotal moment where it all changed, and it's here that man introduced inequality to the world. The first man who, after enclosing a piece of ground, took into his head to say, "This is mine," and found people simple enough to believe him, was the real founder of civil society. How many crimes, how many wars, how many murders, how many misfortunes and horrors would that man have saved the human species, who, pulling up the stakes or filling up the ditches, should have cried to his fellows, "Beware of listening to this impostor. You are lost. If you forget that the fruits of the earth belong equally to us all, and the earth itself to nobody. The advent of private property marks a turning point, a shift in the human condition. It's not simply the act of owning land or possessions that concerns Rousseau, but rather the profound alteration in human psychology that the concept of ownership triggered. The very idea of mine versus yours, he argues, introduced a new dimension to social interaction. It is here, in the fertile ground of social comparison, inherent in property, that amour propre takes root and flourishes. This form of self-love is a corrupted artificial sentiment entirely distinct from the simple, instinctual self-preservation that characterizes amour de soi in the state of nature. Amour propre thrives on the opinions and judgments of others. It's an insatiable hunger for esteem, for recognition, for status, a need to be validated and seen as superior in the eyes of others. Thus, as individuals began claiming ownership, an inevitable system of comparison arose, a constant evaluation of who possessed more, who possessed better. My land is more fertile than yours. My house is grander. My possessions are more numerous and more exquisite. This constant comparison, fueled by the insatiable desires of amour propre, ignited a competitive drive for dominance and distinction. The pursuit of material wealth became inextricably linked to the pursuit of social standing. It is this dynamic, Rousseau argues, that laid the foundation for social hierarchy and economic inequality, since individuals and families sought to elevate themselves above others. And so property, in Rousseau's view, is far from a natural right, as Jean-Jacques would have put it. It's a social construct, an artificial institution, that pits individuals against each other in what feels like a never-ending zero-sum game. It gives way to a perpetuating cycle of inequality, of envy and social strife. The consequences, he believed, could not be anything other than detrimental to human happiness and authentic social connection. Let's pause for a second here and get back to contemporary society. Think about how social media fuels our desire for likes and followers, but often makes us feel inadequate and envious instead of happy. That constant comparison and competition, that's amour propre at work in the 21st century. We're driven by a need to be seen as successful, as superior in the eyes of others. And just like he hinted, it is proving detrimental to our mental health. I'd like to conclude with some brief thoughts of my own here. His understanding of inequality makes me question whether we today have lost almost all of our natural pity along the way of building our perfect society. Because at its core, our modern society very much feels like one that approves and even promotes comparison and competition. And if this is so, is our progress really progress? Isn't the very goal of societal progress to reach for a better human condition? A place where collective well-being and our natural pity are promoted instead of individual gain and narcissism. A place where amour de soi reigns supreme, and amour propre is nothing more than a distant memory. Thank you for watching. See you next time.